Hi, Todd Sachs of Sachs Realty, and welcome to our Tuesday night podcast. And tonight I'm really excited. I have Brett Bristow. Brett Bristow has a YouTube channel called Tech with Brett. This guy's amazing. Tonight we're talking about smart technologies, and many of you may know what I'm talking about, but we're talking about turning your home into doing, automatic things for you, like turning on and off lights and opening garage doors and maybe even cooking stuff or faucets that give you the exact amount of water that you're asking for by voice command. So we're going to learn all about that tonight. The best thing about it is we're going to talk about ways that you can actually do it yourself. So even if you aren't a techie like me, Brett's going to explain to us and give us some good resources. And his YouTube channel, this guy is amazing. I mean, he has videos with over millions of views, 2 million views on many of the videos, over 300,000 subscribers. So we're going to hear from Brett. And guys, I'm a real estate broker here at Sachs Realty, and we serve buyers and sellers, both residential and commercial here in Maryland. But the really cool thing is we have a preferred broker network program all over the United States. So guys, if you don't have an agent, you need some assistance with that, you can hit me up. I'll make sure that you're well taken care of. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet Brett. Brett, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me on, Todd. Great to be here.
So tell everybody a little bit about you.
All right. So my name is Brett. I run the YouTube channel Tech with Brett. I grew up in the world of technology. My dad has been a computer teacher for 35 years. So I was surrounded by all kinds of tech. And so that's just something that's been a part of my life. And I have a wife and 3 kids, another one on the way. So they're being surrounded by tech as well. But 5 years ago, we purchased our first home. And then I was able to start adding some of these smart home products to my house. So the very first one I got was a smart switch for the porch lights. So this would automatically turn on the porch lights at sunset and turn them off whenever I wanted to at night. And ever since then, I've just continued to grow different devices in my home. And I've just been very impressed by what this smart home tech can do. It can make life a little bit easier and a lot more fun. So that's just kind of how it all started. And so I've been making videos about all these different products that I've been testing out at my house. I just make a video on it, show everybody else how to use it and kind of how it works. And so that's kind of how I got here today.
So do you do this for a living?
I do. This is my full-time job now. Last year, I was able to leave where I was working and do this full-time.
Now, were you working in tech or were you doing something completely different?
I was working in tech. So I actually worked for Samsung, Telecommunications America or Electronics America. And so my day-to-day job was showing people how to use their cell phones. So any of the Samsung phones or Samsung products, I would go into stores and train the employees so that then they could help you when you come into the store and know which phone does what. So that was kind of my main job. I did that for about 7 years before I started doing this full time.
So Brett, I know, things have really changed. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I'm just kind of curious, how is that changing the way that people are living in their homes? So you talk about these technologies, or do you see trends that are out there right now that are being directly related to COVID?
I would say yes. You're now at home a lot more. You're finally dealing with those problems that have been in your home for years, and you have to deal with it every single day. And so you're like, all right, what's the solution to fix that problem? So now that you're at home, you want things to be a little bit easier, a little more comfortable. And my main slogan is, I want tech to work for you. Technology can be complicated and confusing, but I like to show the way that it should work. And so you can find these different devices that can then help you do so many different things, like you talked about in the beginning, turning on your faucet or giving the right amount of water, all these different types of products that are available now. It's just really amazing what's out there. So it's really growing with COVID and everything happening.
Yeah, so let's just dive right in and talk about some of these technologies. I know when you and I spoke off camera, one of the things that you had mentioned was like the first thing you did, just like you were just saying about switching, you had spoke about exterior lights, maybe the lights that were at your front door. And, these are things that, and you had even said when I, said, well, where do people start? And you said, you usually say, start with the things that you typically do in the home every single day that, by automating those things would make that easier for you. And you started with the outside light, I guess, by the door. And, and that's a big one for me because I know, if I forget to turn them off and I leave and the lights are burning all day long, the outside sconce lights by the entrance, and that could actually tell somebody that you're away. Could actually, when somebody broad daylight and the lights are still on, that could be an indication that, hey, maybe they're on vacation or something. And so, kind of take it from, what are the types of things? So we know lights, dimming lights. I mean, that's kind of like the first place that this all went, right? With when they were first talking about smart home, and then maybe thermostats. So what are some of the other things that you can automate?
Definitely. Smart thermostats was probably the second product. Maybe that was the very first. It's just so nice that I can go on my phone, change the temperature at any time. And then some of these smart learning thermostats like the Nest or the Ecobee, they will automatically adjust the temperature and so that you save on power. So I think being a homeowner, one of the biggest things is now I have this mortgage. How else can I save money with the mortgage? So the smart thermostat can automatically help me save power instead of if my wife turns it up, I can just turn it down or whatever it is. So you got the smart thermostat. And then the next thing I like to add is a smart speaker. So here I have kind of one of the newer ones where it's a smart speaker and a display all in one. You've heard of the different Echo devices, Amazon Echo or the Google Home Minis or the Google Nest Minis. And that allows you to control all of your smart home by voice. So you can just give it a command. It can change the temperature. It can turn off the lights. It can do so many things all by voice. And no longer do we have to go to Google and search for just little answers. My family and I are using Google on our speakers all the time to ask how to spell things or set timers and all these different options without having to pick up a phone, which is really cool to do completely hands-free.
And that's sort of like a whole nother topic because I guess we're getting like the Alexa, they're answering our search questions. And I guess, that's a big thing for businesses on how do you be that choice, when it comes to a business. But what other things? I know you have a garage door openers that go up and down, right? With the smart technology.
Yeah, so I like to, I'm forgetful sometimes. So a smart garage door opener is great because I can instantly open my phone. I can see if the garage is open. I can push a button. It will automatically close the garage. Something I've been getting into a lot lately is just having some smart cameras around the house. So I can show them on my different displays or see them on my TV, kind of check on the kids if they're in the playroom or whatever's happening. Some of the products that I just installed this week was a smart faucet. So this faucet's so awesome. I can wave my hand to just turn it on and turn it off. But then if I want 6 cups of water to make mac and cheese, I can say, Google, give me 6 cups of water, and it will automatically do that. It can set the temperature. And there's just so many different options. So if you think of something that you maybe do every day, or maybe there's a light that's always on in the basement, nobody goes and turn that off. You can install a simple smart light switch, and then you can set it up where after 10 minutes, it automatically turns off once you turn it on, or just every night at 10 p.m., all the lights in the house turn off instead of having to walk around the entire home to turn all those off. One thing that just happened recently is my parents, they just did this huge renovation on their home. And during the process, we talked with the electrician to move some of the light switches to make it a little more easier to use because there's a big open space and there's like 5 different light switches, but you have to go all the way to the end of the hall or the end of the room to turn on that light switch. And so every time we tell the electrician something to change, that bill starts to get higher and higher. And so one of the things we're going to do very soon here is there's a smart switch called the Lutron or Caseta by Lutron, where you can get these little remotes. So you install a smart switch at one end of the room, and then you put this remote at the other end, and you can easily turn off the light. And you can even set it up to turn off every light switch in the room if you install smart switches. So instead of walking around turning off all these switches, you have one little spot. Boom, you can turn on and off the lights so easy without having to have an electrician come in and redo all of your wiring. It just makes things so much easier to have those smart controls.
Or if you're in the case of our house, my wife's always wondering which switch turns on and off which light. I mean, we have these banks of switches, and it's crazy. You got to try each one until you figure it out. And sometimes being in the house for years still doesn't figure it out.
Exactly.
So let's talk about this wild faucet. So you can say, give me 6 cups of water, and you put your pot under there and measures it
Yep.
out, shuts it off.
It loads it. It's able to do exactly what you want. So you can set different presets in this app. So this is a Moen smart faucet. And so you can go in and say, all right, I want to set a preset where I want the temperature to be as hot as can be. And it went through this test when I set it up that it found the coldest temperature was 50 degrees and the warmest temperature it got was 130 degrees. So it
Wow.
now knows, it has like this control box where all the water goes into it. It knows the difference, and then it can put out the right water, the temperature, and whatever you want. So you can go in, create these presets where I want warm water and I want 6 cups, or you can do up to 13 gallons, I think it said. I don't know
Oh
why
my
you would
gosh.
need 13 gallons of water out of your faucet, but you can do as little as a tablespoon or something. But just in the last day of using it, my favorite thing is I can just instantly turn it on without touching the handle, because the hands are always gross cooking or whatever. I can just turn it on, wash my hands, and turn it off without having to touch the handle on the faucet, which is really cool. And I could set it to a specific temperature if I wanted to, and then I know it's warm water or cold water for the kids, or however that works. So like that's just one thing that it's kind of out there, like a smart faucet. Why would you need
It's
that?
amazing.
But after using it, it's so convenient to have, and I think it's going to be one of my favorite smart home products this year.
Well, I mean, we're constantly spending time in the kitchen. It's a big part
Hmm.
of our life. And if you like to cook, you're always measuring out and water. And if it goes from like you said, a teaspoon to gallons or cups of water, I mean,
Hmm.
it certainly makes it a lot easier. So let's talk about some of the other things. So what about cooking and appliances and the crock pot or the stove or what have you?
That's a great question. That's one area that when we bought our house, smart home stuff wasn't readily available. I think it could have been, but you would have had to spend a lot more back then. But now my parents in this new renovation, they now have they have a connected oven, so they can automatically turn on the oven over Wi-Fi. They now have a connected fridge. I'm not exactly sure what that one will do. But something we do have in my house is we have a smart washer and dryer. So we ran into the problem where we'd turn on the washer and then we'd forget that it was done and leave the clothes in there for a long time. And so now with our smart washer, as soon as the cycle's done, it gives us a notification on our phone and we know, all right, it's time to go change the washer. And once the dryer's done, we can know the dryer's done. So then we can switch the laundry. And it's made doing laundry way more efficient. And instead of having to rewash cycles over and over for forgetting that there are clothes in there.
So what about blinds and things like that? I know, they have the ability to open blinds and raise and close them, so you could do them all simultaneously.
Yeah, this is blinds is I think one of my favorite overall things. Like I like the smart lights, but the blinds is really cool because that's something that does require a lot of effort to get up and adjust or close the curtains or whatever it may be. And so over the years, I've tried out quite a few different options. So the first one I tried out was My Smart Blinds. So this allows you to add a little kit to your 2-inch wood blinds, and it will automatically open and close or tilt the blinds. So it doesn't raise them up, but it will close them. And so I was able to put all those in my kitchen. And at night, when we have a lot of windows in our kitchen, so it's just nice. They automatically close, keeps our house private. And it just is so convenient instead of having to go around and turn every single handle there. Another option that is out is smart shades. So I didn't ever try shades before, but with these, they will automatically open and close every day. So I have mine open in the morning and then I have them close at sunset and I never have to touch them. They just go up and they go down. It keeps it private. It helps with heating because they're a little more insulated than other options. And so that one's been really fun to have. Now, if you were to build a new home, you could get these wired in, which would be cool. But right now they just use batteries. So I use one of them, I use a bunch of AA, and then another one, I use a bunch of D batteries. And they could last between about 6 months to a year. And then I just got another option, which are smart curtains. So this is SwitchBot smart curtains, and then they can automatically open your curtains and then close your curtains if you have a ring style rod, which that's just been really cool. I installed them right here in the office, and it's so fun to just have them automatically open, let in the light. If it gets too hot, I can close them instantly. And yeah, it's really fun to have those smart coverings, because that's one of the tasks you do every single day, kind of like the porch light. It just saves me time. I don't have to worry about doing all that stuff. I can just keep playing with the kids, and it makes it a lot more efficient to have.
And if you're like me, when you wake up in the morning, you have to have a cup of coffee first. So before you actually start walking around and opening blinds, and this seems like it'll make it very easy. I just get up and tell the blinds to open.
Yeah, we have ours set to like open, and if it's 8:30 and we're in bed, they open up, and boom, we know we should be getting up because it's really bright, and
your alarm
it's
clock.
just nice. Yeah, exactly.
So I'd like to talk about AV a little bit, because we've spent a lot of money in AV, and it's all obsolete. I mean, we installed it maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and we paid for those expensive universal remotes that you actually have to have the technician that has a license that can come in and add things or take things off. You just can't, something breaks or you want to upgrade something. It's a real pain in the neck. So how has smart technology sort of revolutionized the audio video experience in your house?
I've been there with all that tech that goes out of date. So with the new smart home stuff, it makes it very simple to set up. So one of the things that I really like is Amazon has done a great job in this area. They have an Amazon Fire TV stick that you can get. You plug it into your TV, and then it has all the apps and can control everything. And then you can buy some different Amazon speakers, so Echo speakers. And if you get 2 of them, you can pair them together in a stereo group, and then you can link them to the Fire TV stick, and then it creates a home theater system. And you can also add a subwoofer if you want, but just with a few devices, you can add this pretty nice sound system instead of having to go out and buy a new receiver and then buy a bunch of different speakers and then buy the subwoofer. It can all be done and contained all in this one package. And it's really nice because you can easily upgrade. If you do want bigger sound, you can, they come out with new speakers. You can easily upgrade those speakers, and you're already using the speakers to control your smart home. So they're already there for the most part. So you don't have to go out and buy multiple products. You have everything in one. And there's lots of options, if you're using Apple devices or if you like Amazon services or Google, pretty much all of them have different services. Back here, I use a new Chromecast. So the Chromecast was a huge change in how we interact with the TV, because no longer did you need to go out and buy a super smart, expensive TV. You could easily add a Chromecast, and then you can use your phone as the controller. And now this new one, it comes with a controller as well already. So you can use your phone as a controller, or you use the controller that comes with it and access all of those apps and everything. And you can even use it to turn off the lights before you watch a movie, because there's the voice assistants built into them. So there's just really a lot of options now. And one of my other favorites is, after having a few smart speakers in your home, you can then pair them all together, and they can play music throughout your entire home instead of having to wire different cables through every room and have speakers in your ceiling or whatever. You can just get a few of these, spread them throughout your home, and you can ask it to play music throughout the whole home, and you're ready to clean on Saturday or whatever it is, have a party, or we do that all the time, and it's just really convenient and easy to use with the new smart speakers.
And all of this, I guess, is going through the Wi-Fi.
Yep, exactly. So
do you need to beef that up a lot? I mean, it's, is an average home Wi-Fi system enough, or do you need to make changes there?
It kind of depends. I'm a heavy user. I have a lot of devices at my house, and I use Google Nest Wi-Fi, which is a mesh router system. And most of the routers today can support up to 250 devices, where even with all of the different devices I have, I'm only at about 68 or something like that. And I have a ton. So for somebody to get that far and cause problems. It would take a lot of work, but I haven't had any issues with the amount of different devices connected to the Wi-Fi, because that is kind of like the main thing you need to make sure all of the smart home works together.
Let's talk about how do you do it. I mean, can a novice do this themselves? I mean, we had spoken about, you pick that one thing that you're doing, every single day and kind of start with that. And then it's sort of like you were saying that you can build your system. You have 68 devices. I mean, did you start with all 68 or it just started to, be a progression over time?
Great question. So I've talked a lot about different devices. So if you wanted to start, anyone can really get started. Like I said, if you get a speaker, you could begin building your smart home. And even if you didn't get a speaker, you can do a lot of this just from the free apps that are available. So I'll break it down a little bit on the different types of smart homes you could get. So if you are an Apple user and you're only using iPhones in your whole family and you only have Mac computers and you have an Apple TV, the best way to go for you would be an Apple HomePod. So the Apple HomePod, and they even came out with a HomePod Mini that costs a little bit less, but that can act as your hub for your Apple smart home. So if you get one of those, then you can start adding devices. You can add different Apple HomeKit compatible devices like cameras and light switches and all kinds of things. So once you have that, then you just kind of build upon that and it can interact with your Apple TV and other devices you might already have. So that's kind of a good way to go for Apple, just getting a HomePod Mini. For pretty much everyone else, the two options would be to get an Amazon Echo device or a Google Nest device. So with these, you can use Apple. If you have an Apple phone or an Android phone, you can use either the Amazon or the Google. And so with that, you just get a smart speaker. Like I said, they have the dots or the mini size, which makes it really inexpensive to get started. And then you can start adding things. So you can get a smart outlet. So if like for Christmas lights, this is something that I love. I get the smart outlet. It can automatically turn on and off my Christmas lights. And you can get these for very cheap now. And then you can set up different what are called automations where it will automatically turn on every day and turn off without you leaving the lights on. And then like one of the other options is you're going to want to plug your lights in outside. So you can get a smart outlet for outdoors. And then you can use that to control the lights outside automatically. So it's kind of just one step at a time on what you need. If there's really something I'm doing so often, I don't want to be doing that anymore. Like my porch lights that I mentioned, that's where you start, and then you build from there and until you can get to the smart faucet, or maybe the smart faucet is the most important thing to you. You could start from there and then just add devices, and it really doesn't matter what order you add, just whatever is the most convenient and helpful to you. And just doing one at a time is best. Unless you want to go out and spend a bunch on a ton of light switches, you could do that as well.
So the most important thing is to determine, I guess, what operating system. So if you're a family of, Apple users and everybody has the iPhone and you want the ability to use that as your command center or your remote, then you should consider the Apple product. Or if you're mixed and you have maybe some Android users and Apple users, then you would recommend going with either the Amazon or the Google product.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, that would be correct. I think that would be the best way to go. And you could, if you use, Apple stuff, you can choose either. Maybe you're already paying for like Amazon Music, then Amazon would be a great option to go with. Just so that you're not having to buy more services. Just take a look at what you're already using. You're paying for Amazon Prime? Okay, there's some cool things you get with Amazon Prime. Or are you paying for YouTube? There's a lot of different things. You just kind of look at what you're already using, and then maybe just start from there because you're already used to what you have. So just add things that you're already used to. Another example of a device that we haven't talked about is a video doorbell. So you've most likely
that's on my list. That's definitely on my list. Yeah.
You've probably seen the Ring video doorbells. So if you have a Ring video doorbell, Amazon actually purchased Ring a few years ago. So the Amazon product directly with Ring. So those ones work together. A lot of people already had a Ring device, and then they pick up a Google and they'll say, "Hey, Brett, how do I get Ring on my Google?" And the answer is it just can't work. So some of the products do require you to get other compatible products. So if you already have an Amazon device and you're looking for new devices, most of the products have on the box if it works with Amazon or works with Alexa is what it will say. Google devices will say works with Google Assistant, and then Apple devices will say works with HomeKit. So just making sure that whatever new product you're getting is already compatible with what you already have makes it really easy so that you don't come home with a product and then it just doesn't pair with the other one. Then you have to go back and it's a problem. So that's a good way to know if what you're getting is going to work with what you already have.
So you had mentioned subscription services and things that if you're already paying, besides having that Wi-Fi, are there any of these smart technologies that you're talking about that actually have ongoing fees, subscription charges?
So for the main functions of a lot of the things I've talked about today, they will have no fees. So nothing will be required to pay. So to use this device, I'm not required to pay anything other than the cost of the device. But to enhance some of the devices, you would need subscription services. So like on these smart displays, if I want Netflix, I'm going to have to pay for Netflix, or on Amazon devices, you'd have to pay for Prime. To view Prime videos. Another option is some of the cameras. So the smart cameras, they will let you see certain info for like the last 10 days or so without paying, or you'll just see a few clips. But with many of them, they do require a subscription so that they can store your information a lot longer. So my Nest cameras, I pay a subscription that includes all of my cameras. So it's nice. It's just one subscription. And then all of my cameras record everything for the last 10 days. So I can easily go back. If something happened, everything would be there recorded. And then I think it just records like events for up to 60 days. So that's one thing that would be required if you want to enhance the length of time things are saved. That's been really useful. But if you only just want notifications, that wouldn't be required with the camera subscription. And then another subscription would be like music. So these can play music. So if you want to listen to Pandora, it can play Pandora. You're going to have ads that will pop up, just kind of like maybe you're used to on your phone. But if you want to ask for a specific song or a specific album, you then would pay for a subscription to whatever music service that device supports. And then you could ask for all of those specifics instead of just hearing a radio of different music channels or whatever, artists that kind of mix. I like the subscription service because I can say, hey, play this album, and it will start the album or start the exact song that I want without me having to just wait for 30 songs to play before I hear the one that I want.
It's in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, we're talking about, so let's talk about the ease of all of this. So can a novice set this up themselves?
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest requirements is as long as you can download an app. So all of these devices will use an app, and then they connect with the smart home app, so the Amazon app or the Google Home app. And so you get the app for the device, set up the device, and usually all of the apps will tell you how to install it. Like I've never installed a faucet. And yesterday when I installed this smart faucet, the application ran me through every single step. It even showed a video of every step on exactly what I needed to do to make sure I installed it right. And when I finished, I was like, wow, I had no idea it would be that easy to install the faucet. So it made it more fun than challenging, because sometimes when you go into projects like that, it's just not a good time. But I had a great experience doing that. And yeah.
Well, I remember when technology used to come with an instruction manual or some type of book, and now you go out and get yourself a brand new $1,000 iPhone, you have zero instruction. It's like, we're just supposed to know how this stuff works. And I guess depending on whether you were born with a device in your hand, that's a lot easier than somebody my age and trying to figure this out. But you think I can do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely could do it. And I've had to help my dad. He's a bit older, well, quite a bit older. No, and I had to help him just with little things. So I'll help him get it set up. But he watches some of my videos and then he tries it on his own. He's like, "Oh, I was actually able to do that pretty easy." So once you get the thing set up,
Yeah, but you
then
said he
all
was in tech, man. You already said your dad was in tech for the last 30 years or whatever.
he was in teaching kids how to type, so it's a little different. A little different.
He saw the whole progression, man. I saw that video that you posted on your YouTube channel. And by the way, we're going to put all of Brett's information in the show notes so you can click on over and check him out. But I saw the one where you had you as a young child, and it showed like the big CRTs maybe or whatever. Some people don't even know what the heck a CRT machine is, but some of the huge computer monitors and things like that. But he's seen a lot change over the last several years for sure. So
Yeah, every time we talk about something new, it's just like, wow, how can that even happen so easily compared to what it used to be? And as he's getting older, a lot of these things are coming to be more important. Like instead of walking across the hall or whatever, it takes a lot more work. So having a button or just using voice, and he didn't have to get up, it's been really beneficial to have a lot of these smart products around.
you guys have a smart robot that vacuums the floor?
I have used a few of those. My kids leave too many toys around, and the ones I had couldn't detect that. But there are robots that will detect.
Couldn't
Oh,
detect
there's
the
something
toys.
here. Let's move around the toy. Somebody asked me to review a toy that would pick up toys, or a robot that would pick up toys. I probably should say yes to that, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Straighten things up. The kids would be like, oh no, mom and dad are home. Let's go ahead and clean up all the toys as quick as we can.
Yeah,
So
we do want to teach them to clean up on their own before we get the robots into the house.
look, when you're having grandkids, man, everything would be robotic. So,
Yeah.
some people are kind of like worried about privacy. Can my systems be hacked? Something's always listening. And, it's interesting. We had a sales meeting. So obviously we're in the real estate business. So we're talking about buying and selling houses in our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about Zillow. So there's a big name in our business, right? Of course, you know who Zillow is. Everybody does. And, but anyway, we use this contracts program because all of our contracts are electronic now. And, so we're sending out for electronic signatures. And we're sitting around in the sales meeting pre-COVID when we actually had face-to-face sales meetings. And one of the agents said, because the program that we use for the contract signing, Zillow bought. So they're buying up all these companies. And one of our agents had mentioned, they said, well, are we going to keep this software? And I said, well, why not? And they said, now Zillow, they're taking over everything. Now they know all of our buyer and seller information off the program. And they know when 7 to 9 years come up after they settle in their house, they could start marketing to them. I said, are you kidding me? That's like so prehistoric. What we really need to worry about is Amazon and, Alexa or that smart TV that's hearing our conversations. They know when mom and dad are getting a divorce before anybody knows. The kids don't even know, right? Hey, Amazon could be marketing to them getting a divorce. We can help you sell your house. So, with that being said, what is the privacy protection on these things, or is there simply none?
That's a really great question and something I probably should even look more into. I know that whenever I set up a new device, that's one of the main things that you'll see pop up is privacy. And of course, the terms and conditions on all that. And with the different smart speakers, because they are capturing your voice to help you do things, they have a list of what is saved, what is not saved. And then most of them also tell you how to delete information. And I think I set up a new speaker. I was doing something yesterday and it said, do you want us to save any of these recordings or no? And for me, I like to have the recording saved so I can go back and see, all right, what did it hear me say? Or what did it think? And, if you if you do agree to some of that, Google will just make sure that the next time you say it, it gives you the right answer. So there's a lot of info on what information of yours is taken. And so if that is a big concern, just make sure that you read through those and check the options on what's going to happen or not. I know with my Google display right now, by voice, I can actually ask it to delete all of my voice history, or I could say, oh, delete the last thing I asked you, so that if I said something wrong or something happened, that it wouldn't save any of that information. And so all these companies have done a really good job of making sure that your info is private. And I definitely feel that my info is there saved and it's not going to be used improperly. I feel like if it was, people would be showing, would be seeing all these reports. Every once in a while, you hear something from these smaller companies, but I would just be aware of, the different devices that are showing up and stay away from those. But for the most part, I haven't had any big concerns with some of those privacy concerns.
Oh, you made a good point. So when you were saying that, it helps with the recognition or maybe some, historical information of what you actually asked for so that there's more accuracy in the commands and things like that. I mean, machine learning is becoming a really big part of our world. And, what I always, I guess, say to people that are around my age, which I'm 52, and, is, hey, a lot of these devices, they're already capturing everything. I mean, your cell phone, is probably listening to everything that we say anyway. So, I mean, personally, it doesn't really bother me because I feel like how many times are we on camera during the day? I mean, I forget what that number is, but when you leave your house and you're driving to the store, you're captured like so many different times. And, I think we're going to come into a day when actually they'll be looking for the people that don't have any of these devices, by saying it's like, you may as well just live wide open, because if you're not, then you must be hiding something. So, but you're saying it's pretty secure. And then how about as far as hackers and things like that? So if somebody actually, I mean, just talk about this encryption software, that gets installed into your home computer. So is it kind of like one of those things where if they get in, they're in? So, if somebody does click on a phishing email, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, it's a bad email that you click and open something up that runs something on your computer and basically can lock you down. If that happens with your computer device, or they break through that firewall of your Wi-Fi, I guess they can see all of these devices and shut them down too, right?
Yeah, a few years ago, there was a report about one of these camera companies where somebody had logged into this person's account and was talking through the camera into the kids' room. So that's kind of that's a scary scenario that you would never want to have happen. Well, one of the things is the company didn't require certain verifications to get into the account. So the hacker or somebody was able to easily guess their easy password. So since then, a lot more of this privacy concerns have come out. And so they've done a lot better job behind the scenes. Whenever you create an account, you'll have to verify your email address, and they'll send you an email and you'll have to type in the code. So unless a hacker can get all the way into that kind of stuff, then they could still have that potential. But I would recommend making sure that whenever you're creating these different accounts, or even with your email accounts, you set up two-factor authentication. And that makes it so that nobody can log into your accounts or devices unless you have the text or the email that comes directly to your phone that can't go anywhere else. And so that's a huge thing that stops a lot of hackers from getting into any of your info, is that second barrier or code to get in. And then when you set up your different smart devices and create the apps, making sure that you are using a secure password. Because if it's just one simple password that you've used forever, it will be very easy for somebody to guess that. And I noticed on my Google Chrome browser, you can have it save passwords, and sometimes it will say, hey, guess what? Your password has actually been compromised. It's been found somewhere in the system, so you should change that password now. And, the recommendation is to change your passwords pretty often. But since I do have a lot of accounts, I would suggest just making sure you have a very secure password that has capitals, special characters, numbers, and a big combination, so that, the longer it is, I think if it's more than 8 characters and has a few different types of characters, every time you add another one, it's like going to take another 1,000 years to break that code. So
Yeah,
just making sure you have a good password is a huge help.
sure. And I will say too, while we're talking about security, I mean, a lot of what you're talking about with like the Ring or the Nest, as far as doorbells and cameras and things like that, you had mentioned that they save. You can have these subscription services where it actually will save your clips. A lot of it is, their motion detection. Basically, they start recording when they detect motion. And I will say that that's kind of like the biggest peace of mind that I've set up, because we have security at the house and the offices and things like that. And basically that data is kind of stored offsite. So it's on somebody's server. So even if somebody were to walk up to your house, rip off the camera or, take the doorbell device off, or if they were intruders and went in your house in the old days, or maybe some of you listening may still have those old DVRs, where all that information is going. I mean, people are smart that are breaking into your house. They just simply need to take the DVR and all that stuff is erased. Now with that offsite data stored on somebody else's system, it's captured.
Yeah.
So where are things going, Brett? I mean, let's talk about, I was at a conference not too long ago, and these technologies that you're talking about, they were discussing, and I'm sure in the last couple of years, I mean, I don't think they were talking about the faucets giving you a measurable amount of water. What about wearables? How are you seeing, I see you have a smartwatch on, where are they going? And, as far as integrating with these systems and being able to know what you like. So if your wearables programmer knows that you like it bright in the rooms, how do you see that changing to where you walk in the room and your wearable communicates with those devices and just makes those settings or temperature controls or lighting controls automatic?
Oh, that's a really great question. Yeah, and I love having a smartwatch that tells me a lot of info. So first, let's talk about what you can do right now. So right now, with your phone, if you have location tracking on, you can have certain things set up. So like say these smart cameras, maybe whenever you leave the house, you want the smart cameras to turn on. And then when you come home, you want those cameras to turn off. So based on geofencing and some other things, most of these different devices we've talked about today have options like that. I know some of the light bulbs you can have as soon as you come to the door, it automatically turns on because it knows that you're home. And so that's some of the cool things and automations that you can have set up right now. And we have one right now where if we leave the house, so if my wife and I leave, it knows both of our phones. And so when we're gone, it knows, hey, nobody's probably home. So it changes the temperature so that it kind of turns off the thermostat. It turns off certain lights that we want to have turned off so that it can save energy when we've left the house without us having to go through and turn off all the lights on the house. It can do that automatically, which is really cool. And so, I mean, talking about the future, with our wearables right now, some of the things it does, it automatically starts my workout. A few years ago, you had to go into some little app and like start the workout, but I just get on the treadmill. It tells me, hey, good job. You've been running for 10 minutes and I don't have to touch anything, which is really cool. And I think the biggest thing with these is really helpful with health. So this can track my heart rate and it can track my heart rhythm now with these new smartwatches, which is really neat. And so over time, I think we could see a lot more usefulness of simply controlling. It knows what room you're in, push a button, turn on and off the lights without having to say or move or anything like that, which would be pretty convenient. And I'm sure there are a lot of apps that can do that now. I have a few where I can control certain things on my smart home, but yeah, there's really, as I've learned since I've started really doing this for 5 years, you have no idea what could come out. And every day there's new products that are going to come out to try and help solve some problem that you've had.
So what would you say the next big thing will be in the automated technology?
That's a great question. A few years ago, I really was wanting a smart lawnmower, and now I have one. So that was like, all right, that was kind of like the ultimate thing that could happen was my lawn being able to mow itself, and now it does. So other than that, I think the biggest thing we're going to see is the improvements of the AI. Being able to automatically recognize what we want better. So instead of having to know a preset list of commands, you just say what you want and it automatically can make those changes or give you the proper response. And then we're going to see a lot more in the devices all working together. So one thing I haven't talked about now is getting a hub. So I kind of mentioned the Apple HomePod is a hub. So a hub is separate from your Wi-Fi that can talk to devices. But over the next few years, we're going to see that you won't need a hub anymore. They'll just all seamlessly kind of connect to each other, and they act as like Wi-Fi extenders to each other. So you get one of these in one room, and then it will automatically help the signal for the next room so that they all can mesh together better, and you have a better experience and things respond faster, and it just all kinds of it communicates a lot better.
So do you think that we'll be authenticating through retina scans at all? I mean, do you see where, I know a lot of this artificial intelligence now is picking up data on facial expressions or recognitions and our eyes, where we're looking or where we're focusing on. I mean, do you see any of the, and I was just speaking with somebody who's in commercial automation, and she was mentioning about how, now it's important that your temperature, that you don't have a fever when you're going into buildings, and you're actually looking into these monitors and it's able to record your temperature. Do you see where those types of things or retina scans will become part of our home, security or renovation or automations?
That's a great question. And we've seen just in the last, since I worked in the cell phone industry for the last few years, I saw the change of using just a PIN code on your phone to adding a secure password to a fingerprint. And in some of the Samsung phones, they actually did have this iris scanner where it would map your eye and unlock your phone based on that. And then we've seen kind of the similar thing go into Apple devices where it now has the face unlock where it will automatically recognize your face. And I think we've kind of peaked on mobile, like the phones, what is capable of unlocking. My fingerprint is in my screen on my phone. So I just touch my screen and it unlocks based on fingerprint, which it's really cool to have all those integrated into the home. I would say that even if you wanted that type, there's probably something out there right now. Like getting into your home, my favorite thing is my smart lock, where I can use my fingerprint on my smart lock to get into the house if I forgot my keys or I didn't want to take them when I went out on a run or whatever. You can also use the PIN codes to get in. So I think that could advance. Right now, it seems like what we have, like the fingerprint technology, is pretty advanced to be able to recognize and only let you in instead of anyone else. So I think we'll see improvements there in the security and locking down things. But right now, I would say we've done a pretty good job. And I at least feel comfortable enough to put on a smart lock on my door that it's going to keep anybody out. So I'd say that's pretty good for what's happened already.
So let's just give a couple minutes of bonus content here, because I want to kind of take advantage of your background in mobile, as far as mobile phones. What do you think about the new 5G? So I hear, everything's turning over to 5G. We just put a new 5G Wi-Fi in our house, and I'm getting ready to put some extenders, because our house is a rancher and it's long. Mm-hmm. There's some safety concerns with 5G. Can you tell us anything about that from your experience with, with the mobile or, this cellular type of data?
Yeah, definitely. And first, I just want to make sure I talk a little bit about 5G. So there's two types of 5G you'll hear about. One is with your wireless network. So your Wi-Fi system could have a 5G signal, and that's been around for many, many years. That's just a stronger signal, or a signal that goes, let's see, a stronger signal for your Wi-Fi devices. So that shouldn't be any concern. But the new cell phones, so we went from 3G phones to 4G phones or LTE phones, and now the new 5G phone, 5G network is coming out. And so those are separate, but the new 5G network, it now requires more towers so that you can have a stronger signal no matter where you are. So they're going to increase the amount of towers that are available. And a lot of people have had concerns that there's some kind of health issue with these 5G towers. But I'm going to say there's no health issues with these. I'm a huge fan of the 5G. For many years, I was working in the car, so I didn't have an office. Everywhere I went, that was my office. And when you're trying to send reports or download different files on the go, it is very difficult if you don't have a good, strong signal. And so I relied 100% on the carriers' networks that were available. So if I didn't have a good network, it would take me way more time, and I'd have to come home and then do it later on the computer at night when I wanted to spend time with the kids or whatever it is. But with the new increase of speed, you should be able to do pretty much anything you want on the go, like even streaming a video or uploading to YouTube these large files. And right now, my phone actually does say that I have 5G. I have the newer Samsung Galaxy Note 20, and it says I have 5G, and it's kind of like the preliminary stages. So they're going to have to build out this really big network. So you're going to see these 5G start happening in different spots. But my experience so far is I'm not able to upload gigabytes of data or anything yet, which hopefully will be the case one day. But right now, it's just the increase of speed on your phone wherever you are, just because we are now relying so much on our mobile devices that wherever you are, you should have a better connection, more like having a Wi-Fi connection out and about. So I'm all for it. I don't think it's going to be there's no problems with it coming to pass. You'll just maybe have to pay a little bit more on your data plan, which could hurt.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate that. Man, this is great. Super information. I mean, you really are the tech guy.
Yeah, I've been around for a long time, and I've seen it change a lot. And when I was a kid, I was trying to figure out all these things on my computer and see how that worked. And so it's been really fun to see it go from these big computers all the way down to our tiny mobile devices on what we can do there. And I'm a fan of whatever device you have, like on your phone, you should be able to do different things. So if you want to create things, you should be able to do that on your phone instead of having to buy a ton of equipment. I do like all the equipment though, so I go out and get that. But there's really so many options now that if you have some type of tech need, there's a way that some type of technology can help you solve that problem.
Yeah, and I'd like to add too, I mean, when we spoke the last time, we were kind of talking about from a real estate perspective, and really as far as for you being able to go out and, sell the smart technology, it'd be so nice to be able to say, hey, this adds value to your home. And so what I have done over the last couple of weeks is I've spoken to a couple of appraisers, and I know when we chatted about it at first, we were trying to say, does this add value to your home? And I think the long and the short answer is they don't know enough about it to actually consider it. So, with the banks nowadays, they have in-house appraisers as well, and they have these programs. So you get an independent appraiser that comes out when you're buying a house and takes a look at the functionality of the home and really adjusts the comparables in the neighborhood to equal your home. And sort of what I'd expected, the appraisers were basically telling me if we get to a point to where smart technology is actually common or normal, and that those devices are conveying with the sale, because a lot of times, a lot of external devices, audio, video equipment will not convey with the sale. They'll take it. But the thought was, as we progress and we start to see where this is the norm of the neighborhoods, that if you don't have these smart technologies in the house, that it will become, a deduction in your value because you don't have it.
Right.
But we're not there yet, and it sort of goes along with solar panels. A lot of people, think that because they put solar on their house that it will increase the value. And in fact, depending on the neighborhood and whether it's the norm or not, and I'm not an appraiser, I'm a broker, and we work to value homes so that we can help people determine selling prices. But I think we have some way, a little ways to go. But I think, Brett, I think the bottom line is, as you had mentioned, I mean, the technology is growing. Guys, you can't be afraid of the technology. You need to dive in. And, if it's something that you see, or at least from a safety standpoint or a quality of life, that it would be nice to have these things. It's always good, no matter what age you are, to try and keep your mind active and new to those technologies. So, Brett, I thank you so much for being on tonight. And
Hey, you're so welcome.
yeah, and who knows, we might do this again.
Yeah, definitely. And I did want to talk about that the appraisal. I actually had my home appraised last year, and I wrote down everything that I kind of added, all these new smart shades and different blinds and things. And I don't know if it helps. The appraisal came back great. I was very happy with the result there. But as you mentioned before, if somebody's looking to buy a home and it's already got some of this cool stuff in it, they'd be willing to, up the price a little bit or pay a little bit more for that stuff already included. Because they could come in and you could swap the account over on these smart lights or whatever you have, and then they already have everything there and they don't have to go through the process of getting all of that set up. Maybe you like doing it, but they definitely don't want to do it. So that could be another reason to certainly add different devices into your home.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, certainly if you're makes your home more likable and more saleable, if somebody, I mean, it could be the difference in that buyer, absolutely choosing your home. And, if they're willing to pay for it, at that point, they can write the check. And I will say, we did sell a house, had an agent sell a house this year that had smart technology. And it was interesting. He said it was the longest walkthrough before closing, and the people were actually out of state, and they had left these iPads, and they were actually on the walls, and you could pop them off the wall and carry them around, or you could put them, back on their brackets or whatever. And they actually, through, a video conference, they taught the people how to use those systems. So I wasn't there personally, but my agent said it was pretty cool. So anyway, well, look.
Yeah, I might have to make a user manual. That's what I'd have to do when I sell my house.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we really appreciate you watching. And if you haven't subscribed, we talk about really everything and anything real estate. So if you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe, or follow on whatever audio or video platform you're listening or watching this on right now. And certainly, if you want anything tech, Brett's the guy. Definitely subscribe to his channel. He posts quite frequently, and he actually, as you see, knows what he's talking about. So again, thank you guys, and see you next week. Sachs Realty, Maryland, broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.